are some people who believe that if you have a high IQ, you can't have ADHD. I know that from my own experience that in some ways, the analogy is like I am like a small company and the chief executive officer is brilliant, but everyone else on staff sucks. The whole support staff is horrible. They don't get anything done. Those are all the executive functions.
ADHD Rewired, episode 73. This is the show designed to help those of us who have really good intentions and a slightly wandering attention. My name is Eric Tivers. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, coach, and consultant. We know that starting can be the hardest part, so let's get started. But first, let me thank our sponsors. This podcast is brought to you by ADHD Rewired Coaching and Accountability Groups. To find out about the next ADHD Rewired Coaching and Accountability Group, go to coachingrewired.com. That's coachingrewired.com. Support for this podcast comes from Audible. For a free audiobook download, go to erictivers.com/audible for a link for that free download and for some hand-picked recommendations. Go to erictivers.com/audible for your free audiobook download. Welcome, Doug Harris, to ADHD Rewired. I'm glad to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So what we've been doing, so we scheduled this call for 12 o'clock. It's not 12:27 because what were we just doing? We're putzing around, getting distracted by, what's that? We're trying to do a Periscope feed, trying to get you heard on Periscope, which may or may not be working. And we're doing it because that's just what we wanted to do today. And it's the 3rd of July when we're recording this, although this will be out later this month. And I'm thrilled to have you on because I've actually been wanting to have you on for a while. Doug, why don't you just tell a little bit about who you are and how you know us? How do we know each other?
Well, that the last part's the easiest part. I've been a part of the second ADHD Rewired Coaching and Accountability Group, which was that January?
I'd have to check my calendar.
It's been a long time. It was winter.
Yeah, it was.
Back then. And and that's been great. This is quite an honor to be sitting in this virtual seat that so many illustrious people have sat in before. So that's pretty cool. It's an honor to be here. My background, I was diagnosed in 1998 with ADHD, the usual route. I got it for my kids, to have them diagnosed, and those things ring a lot of bells. And when I first got diagnosed, I was a little fortunate enough to be in Ann Arbor. I was working with Sari Solden and making some good progress. I went to a couple ADA conferences, and I thought I was doing pretty well. But then some stuff came up, and I kind of had more or less a lost decade after that. And then I went to the Detroit ADA conference, and that just took me back to where I was. And that's where I learned about things like ADHD coaching and made some great connections. And I've just been dedicating all my time to ADHD since then.
So you had a lost decade.
Yes.
And now you're making up for lost time?
I like to think so. I'm trying to learn some lessons from that.
Well, what are some of the things that you're working on and trying to learn?
In words?
I would say pictures, but that might be strange in an audio format.
Interpretive dance, perhaps.
Maybe.
I think it's a lot of it is, I think what I'm really working towards now is radical acceptance of my ADHD. That's the phrase I came up with yesterday thinking about it.
What does that mean to you?
It means not just tweaking little things, which basically leaves me trying to be a neurotypical clone, and I'm just bad at that, and it takes so much effort, and mostly it's no fun at all.
Mm-hmm.
But just to actually really embrace who I am with the ADHD and try to live that life.
So when you say radical acceptance, because that's sort of a buzzword that sometimes gets tossed around in different different domains of there's a type of behavioral therapy called acceptance and commitment therapy. I think I've also heard that on the show Lie to Me, which is a great show. It was on Fox for a few years. Actually is based on the some of the work from Paul Ekman, who's a research scientist that studies the facial expression and human emotion. But so radical acceptance, though, doesn't mean just throwing our hands up in the air and saying, "Oh well, I got ADHD, so I can't handle that or can't deal with that. Not my fault." What does it actually mean to you?
It means taking advantage of all the strengths, my ADHD strengths, not wasting as much time on the weaknesses, relative weaknesses. And for instance, I know that that a lot of the things that maybe are optional for other people are not optional for me. I need to put a lot of effort into getting the energy and the focus going.
Mm-hmm.
And if that means doing a lot of things that seem self-indulgent, I guess I'm good with that. I need, it's the whole idea of like eating your dessert first, because I just know I'm accepting that I need to activate my brain to do anything, and I can't just tell it to start.
So what do you do to activate your brain?
Some reading. What really activates the most is human contact.
Mm-hmm.
A great conversation activates my brain more than anything. And as I think we were talking before, I just wish I could be with this person who I am when my brain is activated more than a couple hours a week, because it's awesome.
And when you feel like you're in that zone, it's a good feeling.
It feels a lot. I feel alive, and that's a great feeling.
So, because I know you talked about the power of connection. We also talked about the challenges that can come with when there's parts of your brain that are just work really well, but don't always line up to other parts of your brain, and sometimes we refer to that as twice exceptionality. And so that's something that you've kind of talked to me about. So would you mind talking just a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, that's something I presented on at a Mensa regional gathering a year ago. It's it has to do with having in school. This is a school term, so I'm just appropriating it for adults. Having ADHD, but also having something else that makes you exceptional. This is twice exceptional. Exceptional does not mean good. It just means outside the norm. And it can be good, but it doesn't mean that. Mm-hmm. And so typically it means either having a high IQ or being creatively gifted in some other way, musically, artistically.
Now, so you're a member of Mensa.
I am, which is that's one of those things that's the hardest thing to say.
I was going to ask you, how does it feel to say, like, I'm a member of Mensa?
It feels creepy.
Really?
Yeah, I have my ADHD shirt. I wear that around. That's fun. That's cool. But anything, anytime you talk about having a high IQ, it sounds like you're bragging, or you think you're better than everyone, and it's hard to avoid that. It just feels braggy. It's just, and to me, all it means is that I've just had higher bars that I've missed because of this. So I think the main thing about being twice exceptional is that you get by. And I call it first world ADHD problems is a phrase I just came up with. Like, oh, you're doing fine. What's the problems? No, I don't want to do fine. I want to be spectacular. No, and you have the moments of spectacularity or spectaculousness, and you want to have that regularly. And it's just so frustrating just to get the glimpse of it here and there.
You were telling me yesterday when we were talking about one of the kind of biggest challenges is that you feel like you're always falling short of your own expectations.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's just a life of either disappointing people, and now looking back, it was their fault for expecting the wrong things from me, but they didn't know any better. But just the idea of my potential, well, it was a potential that was forced on me. It wasn't truly my potential, knowing myself now and what my strengths are. I think I have as high a potential as anyone else ever thought. It just looks different.
And you've done lots of different things. I mean, and you're continuing to do different things. I know one of the things that you have done is you've been in some movies.
It's many seconds. I think I'm up to about 8 or 9 seconds total if you put it all
I've
together.
seen a few of those seconds, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's been fun. That's been, I think, reflects the ADHD in a couple of ways. One, I don't have a steady job, so I was available for this, so I count that, and just the attitude I have of well, why not? I can do that, and so I do.
And you were talking too about how mindset of that kind of why not that you in the realm of acting that you kind of are capturing some of the benefits of impulsivity.
In my ADCA class, one of our classes, we were talking about this, and we're going through an exercise.
ADCA is the ADHD Coaching Academy.
Yeah, ADD Coaching Academy, and someone said, like, you're a creative risk taker. I said, yeah, and yeah, I'd never thought about it that way. I just love taking risks because it's the adrenaline rush. Like, one example, I took an art class once, and the last couple of classes were life drawing, and I really liked that, so I started going to the life drawing studio there. And one day the model didn't show up, so I said, I can do it. So I did, and it was great.
That's awesome. Was it a nude drawing?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Was it really?
I've got a nude pastel of myself somewhere that I can't put it up on the walls because my kids, I just freak them out enough as it is. So I
am sure that your children thank you for that. But I have to tell you, I now have a new level of respect for you. That's awesome. I don't know if I would have had the courage to do that.
I wouldn't have if I thought about it longer. Maybe I wouldn't have. But that's the impulsivity.
Did you regret it?
Oh no. No. After that, he went to a couple of the nudist colony a couple times just for fun, see what it'd be like. It's just this existential thing I have where it's just I like to experience things that are different.
Do you ever like go to the grocery store and you walk into someone and says, "Well, I think I know you from somewhere."
That does not happen now.
Someone sees you coming and they quickly go to the next aisle.
Things like that.
What movies are you in again?
Well, I'm best known for Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas, that's where most of my seconds are. And that was just such a fun day because the director was working with us, and I was treated like a real actor that day. Normally I get treated like cattle, but that was fun. And another great experience I had was in a movie called The Double, which probably no one's heard of. I was Martin Sheen's stand-in, and so I got to spend some time around him, and he's just a super friendly guy. And one time I was Richard Gere's stand-in because the guy who's normally Richard Gere's stand-in was going to a wedding. And at one point when the stand, you just go into the position that they're going to be in so they can get the lighting right. And one time they were getting this camera overhead. I was laying on a bed. They're getting the camera overhead for a down view, and this metal rod fell out of the camera, boom, and landed right between my legs, and didn't hurt me at all. It was 1 in a million shot, and I think Richard Gere, he never thanked me for almost taking that one for him.
So he owes you one.
He owes me. He doesn't know it though.
Are you gonna follow up with that?
I think he's moved on.
Send him an email.
I actually don't have his email address.
Well, bad choice. For all we know, he's a listener of this podcast, and maybe he'll reach out to you. It's
possible. I remember there's the snack, there's the craft services, but there'd be a little cooler, and there's a little container that had carrot sticks in it, and it said it's Richard G, and that was his. No one could have them. I thought it was just so cute.
All right, so you also do some musicals, right?
I haven't in a while, but that's another example of doing these things that they don't come naturally to me. So that's what I give myself. I'm going to give myself credit for doing things that are not in my comfort zone.
And so you step out of your comfort zone.
I do, and especially when they're involved in musicals where you're singing and trying to dance at the same time, which is I've done it a few times, and I still like it's a minor miracle whenever I'm able to do it.
Now, my big question for you is, did you tune up and prepare your ukulele?
I found that when I got the rust off of it, I remembered that I wasn't very good yet, so I'm saving that for.
So we're not going to get a debut of the. I mean,
not right now.
It's not in arm's reach.
I put new strings in it, and then they're still stretching, so it goes out of tune every couple minutes.
I see.
Sorry to tease with that.
I am very disappointed about that, Doug. I have to tell you.
But it'll be worth it, because now I've been meaning to get that out for months and months and months, and I have now. I'm not going to put it away.
Okay.
So
how many other items like that do you have where you have things out that you have it out because you want to do something about it and you haven't done anything with it?
Well, I guess my Moleskine notebook is to a large extent like that. The whole idea of capturing, I have not captured sufficiently the idea that I need to capture things. So I need to do some meta capturing of some type. I was talking to a couple of friends about this podcast. What are some things that I've talked about that are interesting? Because I don't really listen when I talk. And then they mentioned some things that I do not remember any of these things.
Like what?
I can't. Just things I've said. I can't remember. And I really probably should take notes. That lies we tell ourselves. Because in the moment, everything is so vivid that how could I possibly forget this? Well, I find I can't multitask. Multitask includes talking and listening and remembering. I can't do all three. I can choose one. I can either think or talk or listen. And I usually can do one, maybe two, never three.
If you have an idea and you're in a conversation and you want to capture right on that idea, you could just tell the person, I want to write that down. So it's attention shifting. It's not really multitasking. And it's kind of just building that as a part of the behavioral repertoire and not really being concerned about what someone's thinking about you writing something down.
I've gotten better. I've gotten a tiny bit better about that.
Well, tiny bit better it's progress, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for movement in a direction. I
find that with filters, I don't trust my filter. So I tend to have a gate that is like all on or all off. And my favorite moments are when I just open that gate and just get rid of the filter and just see whatever happens. And that generally has being a place that feels safe. And that happened actually at the last ADA conferences. We're meeting later at the bar. So I probably had a beer or two. But I was just talking, and I couldn't remember what it was I was trying to say, but I kept going, hoping that it would come back to me. Normally I would have just shut down, but I I'll go with that. Maybe I'll come back around. And after a while, I noticed everyone in the group was just staring at me with their jaws dropped because they just had never seen such a train wreck. And I just kept going. And I finally stopped because I just saw that it was hopeless. But it was just fun letting go like that, going down the Black Diamond Hill without any skiing ability.
One of the things that I love about ADHD conferences is that freedom to truly just be yourself. I think that sometimes even myself, where I don't realize how often I am utilizing strategies that I've built, around myself, to support the things that I want to do. And which is good because then I'm building habits and I'm not having to think about these things. But when I kind of pause and reflect about, well, how much of the things I do are actually skills that I've developed and habits that I've built over time. Cause I used to be a train wreck on a daily basis. I look back and I don't even know how I got through a day. And so a lot of these skills that I've built around myself, and I'm working on it every day still. I'm hopeful that in 10, 15 years from now, I'll be able to look back where I'm at now and be like an amazement that that's where I was and from where I'm at now. Cause I used to not wear a watch. I can't imagine. I would feel naked leaving my house if I didn't wear a watch. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm going to forget something. I'm going to screw up something. So look, I'm totally time blind. So I always have to have timers and around me and my watch and, writing things down. And even, and we've talked about this, the lies we tell ourselves about, I don't need to write that down. That's probably my number one lie. That, and I have plenty of time. I still catch myself saying that, and I would say most often I pull the red card, or I'm trying to make a sports analogy, which is I should never ever do.
Red card sounds good.
What in soccer? Like what when you get a warning or
yellow is the first warning.
Okay, then is it red? Is it?
Well, red's if it's something bad enough, and red is 2 yellows equals a red. That's all I know. I've exhausted my knowledge.
Is it like based on like a primary color scheme? I mean, is it?
A yellow plus yellow doesn't equal red.
No, it equals yellow.
Scheme.
Right. So how does that work?
I do not know.
Is it the traffic light system?
There's no green card.
Then that rules out that. So is there like an assumed green light if there's no card?
I think the field's green.
The field is green.
Maybe that's the green.
But what about the jerseys? I mean, those could be different colors. Yeah,
they can be. It helps. My kids were never in soccer. They were the little like 6-year-old soccer. One time they had black and navy blue were the 2 colors, and they were almost, you couldn't tell them up, but they looked the same. That doesn't happen in the professionals. They have light and dark uniforms, but yeah, the kids, it doesn't matter because they don't know what they're doing anyhow.
I'm not 100% sure. Is black and navy blue one of those things you're not supposed to do?
I imagine so.
I have no sense of fact. Like I not that I don't really care that much, but I would like to be able to be sort of fashionable. I'm so clueless in that domain.
You're like a personal shopper.
Well, my wife hates shopping as much as I do.
Pay someone. Farm it out.
My mother-in-law will actually buy clothes for my birthday and the holidays. She enjoys shopping, and I enjoy that she enjoys shopping.
Because mutual understanding.
Oh my gosh, I think shopping is a skill. It's the list of things that I hate. Mustard and shopping are the top 2, I think.
Wow, I'm good at buying, but not shopping. I just go and buy. I know what I want.
What have you bought recently?
Oh, what haven't? The UPS truck pulls up to my house almost daily.
I love Amazon Prime.
Important stuff, though. It's real important stuff. I don't buy anything dumb.
Like what?
Like dumb? I don't buy dumb. Oh, what was the other day? Oh, some chemicals for the hot tub. Some screws to hang some curtain somewhere. Nothing crazy. Nothing like that.
You know what I just discovered, and I just ordered some on Amazon. So I've been making the same protein shake for probably 3+ years, and I've been trying to lose some weight, and so I've been cutting back on certain things in my diet. I know, like many episodes ago, I gave some updates on my weight, and then my weight wasn't going anywhere, so I hadn't brought it up in a while. But I'm going to bring it up again because I got on the scale today and I was 209. I think the last time that I got on the scale, I was like 220 something.
That's awesome.
So I'm feeling really good about that. So one of the things that I cut out in my diet was in the afternoon I would have one of these like protein bars, but they're kind of high calorie and high fat, and I just cut that out, and I think that's helped. The other thing that I've done with my morning protein shake was that I put peanut butter in my protein shake, which makes it taste like a delicious milkshake. But I was talking to my brother-in-law, and he's like, well, have you ever tried putting in protein or peanut butter powder? Because it's like all the stuff you want from peanut butter with nothing that you don't want. I was like, they make peanut butter powder? That's brilliant. And so I ordered like a small container of it just to try it out first. It's fantastic. It's just as good as the peanut butter. It has like 85% less like fat and calories. It has a lot of protein in it. So yeah, that's my Amazon riff. And Doug, did you know that you could support ADHD Rewired if you start shopping at Amazon by going to ADHDrewired.com?
I did not know that.
So I don't see who buys it, but I could see what people buy. So whether it's sticky notes or sex toys, you can actually buy and save. Well, it doesn't cost you any more money, but I get a couple pennies from that. And so that's my shameless plug for Amazon. It seems related though, because we were talking about things we buy.
Yeah, I think you steered it there so it wouldn't seem too shameless. But
it wasn't planned though. It's.
I know,
and that's believable.
It is. Coming from you, it's believable.
So, one of the things that I really enjoy about our conversations is how you just tend to riff on stuff sometimes. And, the thing that, and I hope that this comes across in this conversation is how funny Doug actually is, because it's not like this over the top. We were talking about this yesterday. It's not deadpan humor, but it's like, what was the word you came up with? Some phrase.
I didn't write it down. I don't know what I said.
And as I was saying that, I knew that was coming too. Like, you're not going to remember.
That's why I have to make up new stuff all the time.
That's okay. So now make something new up.
It's like jazz. That's what a lot of times I feel like I'm like a great jazz musician, except for the fact I'm not a great musician, but stuck in a symphony orchestra. And that, I think that's an analogy I was
I
thinking
love that. A great jazz musician stuck in a symphony orchestra.
Like the kind of jazz musician who plays by ear and doesn't read music or anything. That's
jazz. Me. I mean, that's
yeah.
And we were talking about that too, or I taught myself how to play music, and piano was my first instrument. Started playing when I was like 4 or 5 years old, distracted by Nintendo. So I would be the kid that would be playing Nintendo and get bored of the game, but I would leave the game on and figure out all the theme songs to the games that I was playing. And my parents had me taking piano lessons, but I actually never really practiced what I was supposed to be playing. I just played. I could like hear a song once or twice and then play it. And so that's how I, got by from week to week, but I never really learned how to play music. And so I used to write a lot of music, but, I would say to myself that I'm really improvisational. And what it really was is that I couldn't structure myself enough to play the same song the same way twice, even if I wanted to. So, cause it's a different level of focus. It's a different level of practice.
It's true. I think that I wish I'd had ADHD friendly lessons. I don't know if there were any lessons that could have existed that I would have stuck with, but I like to think that, I guess I don't want to think that, because then I have to regret it. I guess I don't know which way I want to go with that. But yeah, I've been thinking about how lately with the coaching accountability group, I always talk about focusing on what you resist, things you resist. And I really am finding that I really want to just be a free range thinker. I love like the idea of focusing. I resist things like that. I just chafe at the idea of focus and structure and a lot of things that are good for me, probably in some extent. But I just said, no, I feel like those things take away from my authenticity, even though they can help me. But I find that I just like why people, there's expressions like how perfection is the enemy of good enough or done or whatever.
Yeah, perfection is the enemy of done. Yeah.
I think, and done is the enemy of perfection is how I look at it.
Done is.
I have a backwards way of looking at a lot of these things. I like perfect, because most things I'm doing are pretty arbitrary, and if I do them or don't do them really doesn't matter. But if I do something well, then that matters. So it's about mattering.
Okay,
not accomplishing.
And that kind of sounds like the, where that really intrinsic motivational piece kind of comes in with ADHD. It's like when we're into it and we're excited about it, like we're awesome. When we don't care about it or not interested in it, it's one of these things that someone tells us we're supposed to be doing. It's hard to get the brain activated.
Yeah, or almost hard. At best, it's hard. Often impossible.
And I know that you and I both have something that is in a very similar area of our red zone, and that's related to billing. And I know that you help out your wife in her practice doing billing.
It's death. It's I cannot imagine many ADHD more unfriendly things than that.
It's the worst. It is the worst.
And yeah, I just feel it sinking when I said, oh crap, I have to call the insurance company and talk to insurance people. And I'm really good at not doing it. I'm avoiding it brilliantly, which isn't helping, but I get it.
And it's, have you been able to convince your wife yet of letting you like hire someone for that?
Just letting some of this money fall through the cracks is cheaper than hiring someone.
So it's a good cost benefit analysis. I guess.
I think so.
Makes sense.
And if I put more effort in to get to wring out every last penny, I would get crazy. I'd just be crazy and cranky. So it wouldn't be worth it. I don't think for anybody.
Doug, when you actually are working on the building stuff, do you get anxiety doing it?
Oh yeah, sometimes I think I hope I'm not screwing up here because it's stuff, right? It's stuff that's attention,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not attending.
I mean, that was one of the things when I used to take, when I first started my practice, and I took insurance for like 6 months, and I was having panic attacks. Like my brain didn't understand it, but it's because it's not something that's understandable. It makes no sense. And then we have to push ourselves through things that we don't like to do, like picking up the phone to call an insurance company. And then we get disconnected after like waiting on hold for half an hour. I mean, it's maddening. So I finally have outsourced that, and the very few, so when I get a new client, I have to fax new client paperwork over to my biller. I hate that task. It takes me probably about 10 minutes to kind of gather the paperwork, fax it over, make sure it goes through and all that stuff. It's like, it drains me. It's this 10-minute task that really isn't that, like, it's not a complicated task, but it just drains my executive functions so much that I've sometimes put that off for like weeks.
To me, I don't want to be that person who can do that well. It's an identity thing almost. Like I would resent being good at that. So I'm happy not to. I just have this terrible streak that my inner little kid that just chafes at things and is rebelling against everything. Not everything, a lot of things though.
This math homework's stupid. The teacher's stupid.
Basically. The word stupid goes through my brain regularly, and it's not reference to myself.
Really? So how do you kind of overcome those things when you do need to do it?
I try to remember the last time that happened.
Well, when you overcame it, or when you like were able to kind of just drive through it?
I guess it's nice. I do like please people, and I guess having a whole life, like childhood, of not pleasing people in my life, my parents, my teachers, that if I can do something and it makes someone happy, I really am that's nice, even if it's something I hate, and I let them know I hate it, so they know that it really counts. It's like a double credit. And my wife doesn't. She says it. I know you hate doing this.
Well, at least she's validating that.
Yeah, so that's all right.
Now, and your wife does not have ADHD, is that correct?
She is sort of the opposite of it.
So you're in a mixed marriage.
We are.
And how does that work for you?
It's frustrating. It's great. It's good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
Because my wife's a doctor, and it started out when she was in med school. I was in law school. But I don't know why I was in law school. I was in law school because my brother-in-law was in law school, and it was a lawyer, and I thought he was cool, so I thought I'd try that because I didn't want to go in biology anymore. But I dropped out of that exactly halfway through. Then I got a master's in biology because my wife was still going to school, and school is what I knew how to do. And I finally started getting it right, like in high school and college. And then I started a PhD program. But then my second child came along, and I just didn't care enough. Everybody else was living on campus, and they were single, and we're all excited about the stuff. And I was living in an old farmhouse that I was working on outside of town. And I remember one day that there was a seminar on Friday afternoon, and I don't know what they were talking about, but I was in the back, and the windows open. I could hear the U of M marching band practicing. And at that moment, I just thought, I don't belong here. So I just stayed home with my kids, with my 3 degrees.
So you were a stay-at-home dad for many years.
I was, which I wouldn't trade it, but it's not stimulating. In some ways, emotionally, it was awesome, but intellectually, it wasn't. It was very isolating.
There are definitely times that I guess I feel a little jealous of my wife because she's a stay-at-home mom, and but then there's other times when I'm with my son like all weekend, and we're doing the same thing again and again. I'm like, oh yeah, I couldn't do this.
Even kids with ADHD kids with ADHD can do the same thing over and over and over easily.
If they enjoy it.
They don't seem to need the variety. And I was, as a father, a stay-at-home dad, I got some people would give me credit. Oh, it's so great that you're doing that. But I still didn't feel like I belonged. I didn't know any other stay-at-home dads. So it was just kind of a cute novelty, which wasn't what I was hoping for. It wasn't my goal. And my kids grew up and left the house, and you're a stay-at-home parent and your kids leave, then you're kind of
now what, right?
Then you're a bum is what you are at that point. And so that's one. So that's one. Like I went the coaching things. I wanted to go in a new direction, and it's something I learned about at a conference a few years ago, and it just really speaks to me. And I'm very excited about
what about it speaks to you? Because I know that you're talking to me about the power of connection, and like that's to you is like your gold, your glue, you love that connection piece.
I do, and I find that like when you're at the conference, you see people who are they're there for the first time, and they discover their tribe, or people our local support group. Just the look of relief. I've never been around my own people like me before, and that is so powerful because people get me. I don't have to explain myself. When you do that all the time.
I still remember my first CHAD conference, and I mean, when you just uttered the phrase like your first conference, I was getting goosebumps because remembering the power of that first conference. And I went. My primary objective was going as a clinician. I wanted to learn more about the research and all this. But I gained so much for myself as a person with ADHD. I mean, I've cried at every single conference I've ever been to. It's always one session that gets me. And I hope that continues because it's like, I think for me, the thing that gets me is that it's the sort of that recognition of how hard I'm working at the stuff. And it is exhausting sometimes.
I remember going to hear Thomas Brown talking. This is in Atlanta in 2000. And he was talking about executive functions. And it's the first time I'd heard it. And that was the first time that this ADHD thing really made sense. So the attention, hyperactivity, they're so vague. But going through specific things, I teared up because I went outside afterwards and started crying, thinking about a little Doug who was doing his best. And everybody thought he was screwing up. And it was just, just cried for him and then looking back, and there's adults like that too. The adults who don't know, or if they do know, they've been living with undiagnosed ADHD for 40 years maybe.
Well, I know that's Alan Brown, ADD Crusher. That's one of he actually did a TEDx talk on the 85%. Yeah, the 85% of adults who have ADHD do not know it. And so this whole notion of it's so overdiagnosed, like, is it overdiagnosed? Sometimes. It's also often not diagnosed and missed.
Well, yeah, right, exactly. One common example is inattentive type ADHD.
And that's me.
But bright people with ADHD often, because it's not a problem. If you get up to like C grade level, that's fine. You're not a problem anymore, but you should be a superstar, perhaps. And so it's some people I've read some in doing my reading about the twice exceptional. There are some people who believe that if you have a high IQ, you can't have ADHD, which is just BS.
Right. Because
I know that. Right. I know that from my own experience that in some ways, the analogy is like I am like a small company and the chief executive officer is brilliant, but everyone else on staff sucks. The whole support staff is horrible. They don't get anything done. Those are all the executive functions. And it's so frustrating that these things are in my head and these potentials I have that I just can't make. A lot of them just can't get done, and it seems so close, and yet it's just so much frustration.
Doug, in my experience working both with coaching clients and with my therapy clients, when I'm working with a client that has ADHD and a very high IQ, I actually think that those are some of the more challenging clients to work with because I see and just tell me this is your experience. I see a lot of flooding emotionally when those executive functions are really being kind of pushed, because like the high IQ, in a sense, there's a really high capacity bandwidth for some types of information processing. And then when it bottlenecks, when it has to go through those executive functions, like the brain gets flooded and sort of shuts down. Is that kind of what it's like for you?
Absolutely. I've thought about the bottle, the building a ship in a bottle. That's how I feel I am often, that I'm building these things in my head, but they have to go through my working memory to come out, and that's the bottleneck. And going in too. I do not remember facts well. I generate a model of something, and that's in my head. And then when I want to use it again, I take that model and then try to recreate the pieces. And it's just so frustrating going through that bottleneck all the time.
I mean, I often have that feeling. I have this like surge of kind of mental activity in my brain where I come up with these brilliant ideas and associations and ahas, but I can't like get it out and communicate it in a way that makes sense. That's frustrating.
Oh yeah, this is trapped in there. I think that with ADHD, so often you have to think about the quality of your work, not the quantity. Because the best work, I probably do most of the good I do in several minutes a week, or just coining a phrase, coming up with an insight that other people, my coach friends, say they use this. I always use that phrase now. They always, one thing I said, that was, the guy says he uses it with his clients down in Australia, and people usually cry, and so I give myself credit for that. It's like the story about the woman who designed the city logo. It looks like an umbrella, the Citibank.
Yeah.
She just sketched it up really quickly. Somebody said that only took you like 3 seconds to do that. She said, no, 30 years and 3 seconds.
Yeah. Well, it's that idea of the overnight success takes, years to achieve.
And that's in coaching. The idea that you've had all these things that look like failures, that they have something. There's something to them that you can learn. And if you mine something from them, I think that's healing, because then at least it was a learning lesson. It wasn't a total loss. And if you can learn something going forward with it, that's so powerful.
I'm planning ahead, and you can too. This fall's ADHD Rewired Coaching and Accountability Group begins September 14th, 2015. Besides from the benefit of securing your spot, I've set it up so you can start making payments now, and you could spread the cost over 6 months, making it affordable on almost any budget. To take advantage of this 6-month payment option, you do have to sign up by July 31st. Then you could pay over 5 months, then 4 months. The price will go up September 1st. And we already had one person sign up, which is pretty awesome. Many of you were interested in this summer's session, but told me you needed to wait until the fall. If you already know now that you want to join the next session, don't wait. Go now to coachingrewired.com to schedule your free consultation. That's coachingrewired.com, and prepare to get your ADHD rewired.
Boom, 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 audibletrial.com/ADHD rewired for your free download. Trial.com/ADHD rewired. Trial.com/ADHD rewired. Go to audibletrial.com/ADHD rewired for your free audiobook download.
So what are some things that either yourself have learned from failures? Because I mean, I'm a huge fan of failure. I really want to rebrand failure as equate it to self-education. Because it really is. I mean, it's like we are not failures. We may fail at a task, or trying to do a specific objective, but that doesn't make us a failure. That just means that we've learned one way of doing something that doesn't work.
Well, that's all. It reminds me of Brené Brown.
Yeah, I love her. I love her.
She's amazing. The idea that it's that who you are, what you do, the results aren't who you should be judged by. Because then if things don't work out, I think if you're failing, that means you're trying. If you're not failing, you're not trying.
That's right.
And I think that with people with ADHD, we try a lot of things. So we probably fail more.
Mm-hmm.
I try things, with the impulsivity, I do things that I probably have no business doing. But I say I can do that, and I frequently can. But it gets to the point where I expect to be able to do things easily, and some things take multiple steps, and those are the things that are harder for me. Like learning a musical instrument that I just play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Was too slow. And really, I think it's the idea. I guess it's the idea of future self is something that really resonated with me. I heard someone talk about it, and the idea that I guess with procrastinators, but people who procrastinate, people who have ADHD, I think have a lot in common.
Mm-hmm.
Often the same people. The idea that some people look at themselves in the future and it seems real, and in the brain scans, it looks like the same way that they think about themselves in the current time.
Mm-hmm.
Other people are procrastinators, and I assume people with ADHD, the person, their future self, looks like a stranger. They react to them to say, so it's not real. And I think that to me has always been a problem, is that the future does not, it's something that's nice. It's something I feel, it's in my head, but not my heart. My heart doesn't connect to it. So I don't, there's no passion.
Mm. And I know
passion
is something that's so important because of the emotional component that our emotions drive our executive functions.
Well, I remember at one point in my life, I realized, I kind of thought I was a kind of cerebral or intellectual or whatever. And I said, no, I'm an emotional person who just uses that stuff to justify things and rationalize things. And because partly when you're ADHD growing up, your emotional development often will lag a few years behind your classmates.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're really bright, then your intellect is several years ahead. So you're in third grade, like with a middle school brain in the kindergartner's emotional body, and the two don't work together. The imbalance is just so great that it's just easy to over rely on your brain and lose touch of your feelings. So the feelings are there, but they're not. They're there. It's just like but they're not. They're driving things without control.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're not. It's about using your feelings, I think, as a compass towards finding what matters to you. Because a lot of times I think, well, what could I do if I could do anything? I hate that question because I draw a blank usually. So I dare not even think about that.
Usually for me, those really, really broad, open-ended questions, I will have about 1,000 ideas in a 2-second span, and then I go blank.
Yeah, they just blur together. I find when I get excited about something, it's usually like it catches me by surprise, because I think living with this ADHD all those years, I got to the point, I think it's protective pessimism is what it could be called, where I just don't look at things. I don't want to get excited because I can get excited. So I stop myself from getting excited in advance.
Protective pessimism. Is that like the reverse of like cautious optimism?
I suppose it would be. I remember, Ari Tuckman talking about it, and it just makes sense that, I don't want to be disappointed again. So I just won't try. I've found that I used to, I look at the notebooks I have from like 20 years ago, and I think, wow, I miss that guy. He was fun. I was much more carefree, but it just takes a toll over time. You may learn from failures, but it does wear you down.
What would you like to go back and that you used to do in your younger self that you would like to start getting back and doing some more?
Good question. Woodworking, something.
Woodworking?
The last really good big project, I built the pulpit for my church, and the picture of it was in Fine Woodworking magazine. Wow. It was. Every time I see it now, I'm still impressed with it.
I love that when I create something like I did that. That's wow.
Or as a church, and someone said, "Thank you for inviting me to your pulpit," and I think they're talking to me. That's my pulpit. Like gardening, I look at things and I now think it's just going to be frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Just anticipating frustration everywhere, because it often things are often frustrating, and that's one of those things that's really common with high IQ people, is that you imagine how, if there's vivid imagination, you imagine how perfect and wonderful something could be, and the real world just doesn't measure up. It's disappointing. So now I'm disappointing the world maybe, but the world is disappointing me back. Which is, I don't like that, but there's something of that. Yeah, definitely.
So how now? I know you are you're finishing up your coaching training.
I'm through. I finished up last fall.
Okay, and you're working on building your practice right now, right?
That's right.
What are some of the things that, from my understanding, is that when you go through the coach training, you need to have a certain amount of hours, or is that where you're at right now? Tell me kind of where you're at with that.
Right now, I'm just trying to get hours in. Just that's how you just can't just read about coaching. You coach by coaching, and so I just need to do more of it. I'm really confident in my ability. I just loved finding out that I have instincts that I did not know, and that's because that was something I always, that's an emotional thing. So finding out that somewhere in my heart I'm connecting with people and catching things, that is nice to know I have that. But it's just a matter of doing it. And
Doug, one of the things that I found from having you in the coaching group is your ability to sort of assess a situation. And you give it like a bite-sized phrase that's so just like right on point, with an element of humor, but such a strong element of truth. Like you name it for what it is.
That's what I do. I don't know what it is.
It's like, and you do it easily. I mean, it's truly a gift. And
this is, I guess this is one of those places. Coaching is a place I can use that gift, because you look in the go to any place where you're trying to find a job. There's no job description that says that. Just encapsulator with humor. There's nothing, but that's what I like to do. It's about distilling something quickly to the essence, making it understandable. And
that's the word I was looking for. Distilling. You distill something down. Yeah.
Just to the essence. I love the idea of an essence. Like whether it's like those tiny houses, you ever see those? Like they're 100 square feet, because it's all about the essence. I love or theater when they have minimal sets and just use a few props and lighting, because it's just all the essence is what's left. They're not using all these fancy bells. The bells and whistles aren't there. Not that I love bells and whistles. And people complain about bells and whistles. I don't know. They have the wrong kinds of bells and whistles. They don't have mine, because I love them.
So I know one of the things that when we were talking yesterday, because so you have this idea of the future self in your coaching practice, but getting there require. I asked you to describe your practice, and I wrote it down for you because I figured you probably wouldn't remember what you said, because I thought it was pretty good. You described your coaching practice it's going great because it's everything but the clients.
I actually did remember saying that.
You did remember? Okay, sorry.
I didn't even write that.
Sorry, I got to take that back then. Sorry. Doug, I am sorry. You were right. I am wrong.
This one time.
It's okay.
It was the exception that proves the rule.
I am often wrong. And I don't know how you are. I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong. I was once I had a sermon that I was in my synagogue that I belonged to. We had a rabbi that talked about the whole sermon was the idea of like being able to say, like, admitting not just that somebody else was right, but that you were wrong. And I was thinking, like, I must just be a pretty awesome person, because I do that all the time. Maybe it's just from a life of screwing things up and just knowing, like, I can't deny when I make a mistake. And so you're better off owning it. So sorry, I just went on a tangent.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's like, I don't know if I'm nice or if I'm just a people pleaser. I don't know. Sometimes I can't tell which it is. If, for instance, because it's a similar thing, you get used to reacting a certain way, but that does not mean it's not a nice way, or it's not kind. I think admitting you're wrong, I think that's something like, again, it's like vulnerability. I think it's courage to admit you're wrong.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
And I think anything Brené Brown says is probably right.
I think she's amazing. Brené Brown, if you listen to this, I have an email that I wrote out, but I don't have your direct email address. Will you email me? Here's my shot in the dark, and I'm shooting for it because we need to talk. I want to have you on the show. If anyone knows Brené Brown, her email address. I mean, I could message her on Facebook, but I don't know if she has like a gazillion Facebook followers, and she's just amazing. She has like said and written all the things that I've thought but have not been able to put into words. I mean, if you have not listened to or read Brené Brown's stuff, I pity you. No, I mean, it's just so good. It's like I don't know, like what do you think is so good about it?
I don't know what it is. It just everything says makes total sense, and she's just right. It's just the essence. She's just so believable. It's just so authentic and sincere. I just finished reading The Art of Asking by Amanda Palmer, and I actually was reading the credits at the very end. And she had talked about when she was on vacation, she got one of the Brené Brown books, and she started reading and said, Brené Brown already wrote the book I was just going to write, because Amanda Palmer's off to write her book. But she said, well, she went ahead and did it anyways, but it just captured the idea of asking and being real, being open. And I think that's something I feel that when I'm with my ADHD tribe, I can be authentic and it's safe. And so I seek that out. Otherwise, I don't trust my filters. So a lot of times I just don't try, because I just don't want to screw up. Because I just don't want people looking. The worst looking is like somebody looks at, and I'm talking to them. The ADHD thinks people almost always get what I'm saying, but when you're talking to someone who's just looking like I don't follow what you're saying at all, that's tough. It's like, I guess I want to be known, and you can't know me. But it's about finding the right place. And I think if you haven't been around, making these connections with ADHD, you don't even realize what it can be like.
Yeah, I completely agree. And
it's qualitatively different than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it gives hope too. That's one of the beautiful parts. Is like, you especially see other people that they're getting down on themselves, and then to you, like, they're awesome. And they say, well, if they're awesome, maybe I'm awesome too. And I think so much of it is that you can look at things from different angles, and like it's like a geometry thing where you get the X and Y scales. Like, well, if someone's a neurotypical, what you're doing, maybe it looks like you're not getting much done. But if you look at it from another angle using different measures, like, wow, you're being amazing. And I think we just don't get to we don't get judged by the good measures that help us so much.
And then how often do you find that people with ADHD discount or dismiss their accomplishments?
Oh yeah, right. If I can do it, anyone can. But why aren't other people doing those things? They can't. But yeah, that's true. People, like someone from the group, she'd done 9 out of 10 things and felt like a failure. 9 out of 10 things on her list, like, that's amazing. So I think that's something that we do for each other, and as a coach, this giving people perspective. Tell them, step back and look at what you did.
Speaking of giving, we were talking yesterday about something that you wanted to give the ADHD Rewired community.
We were. And I was to think more about it.
Did you write that down? And
I did write it down. I was just happy to give the free complimentary hour talking about coaching, and do a little coaching, just a little preview sampler.
So if you email, is that how you want people to contact you? Through email?
That Doug at ADHD Synergy Coaching.
Okay, and we'll post the link to that. And so you're going to give the first person that emails you a coaching session?
First one guaranteed. And no one will know who's first, so I realize I can just say as many people as first as I want.
But you better hurry. Act now.
Absolutely. But I just enjoy this. I enjoy the intimacy of coaching too. and just the honesty and just putting away all the BS that you normally have when you're talking to someone. That just being able to just be directed and straightforward. And because I do so much of it, we talked about yesterday the idea that we just spend so much of our time. Like when I'm alone, we have to have these tapes going, and they're not 8-track tapes. I think they're cassette tapes. But in my head, and I get so bored by myself. And other people think, oh, you're so funny when I'm around you. You're just so full of thoughts and ideas. But by myself, not so much. It's just waiting for those other opportunities. So I just love to talk to my people.
Well, I think the speaking of listening to the tapes in our head, it's like the thing is that we can either just like listen to whatever's on, or we can actually like record the things we want to be listening to. So instead of just listening to all those automatic negative thoughts that go through our head, it's like we're actually use self-talk and replace those thoughts. And it's, it might feel awkward, but it feels better than how it feels when we're constantly getting down on ourselves.
Exactly. If that's how you've been your whole life, there's a comfort to it.
Yeah,
if beating yourself up is what you're used to doing, then it's comfortable to go there. It's not good. It's not helpful, but there's a comfort, and it's a known quantity. I know it's going to be there. It's going to suck, but I'll know.
And Doug, I think you were the one that actually turned me on to the book 10% Happier, which does talk about that. And I mentioned in the I think in a previous episode the title that he wanted to name that book, but that his publisher wouldn't let him. My inner voice is an asshole, and now I have to put an explicit rating on this.
And I've been so good up till now.
I know. Oh man, I'm so torn on that, and if I should keep it, family friendly. It's ADHD family friendly because this is at like the 58-minute mark. So if like you include the intro and everything else, it'll still be past the hour. So no one's actually listening anymore.
You see the ADHD families that sit around the big radio and listen together. Is that what you picture?
I do. I totally imagine that.
Oh my gosh. Like okay, I'm sure that's what happens. I have no doubt. That's a pretty picture, though.
It isn't a pretty picture. It's one of those like the ones at the arched like top to the dial that kind of glows.
Yeah. Nice.
Connected to the mp3 player so they can listen to a podcast. Speaking of podcasts, and maybe I should make an announcement about this at the beginning of the episode. So I noticed on iTunes this week that everyone's podcast, if you search on iTunes, is only now showing like the 20 most recent episodes. I'm hoping that's going to change. Now, if you subscribe to the podcast and then you look in your podcast and then look in like the feed, it's like a whole nother place you have to now look. You can find all the past episodes. So just make sure if you're listening to this, click subscribe, and then it should be in your feed. I also think that's also only on the desktop client. If you're, getting it from your phone, I think all the episodes, are there. But when I saw that, I was like, what? Cause this is, by the time this is released, I think this will be like the 73rd or 4th episode that's out. And I feel good about that. When I went onto my feed and saw only showing 20, come on.
You're good enough to that neighborhood where it's hard to do the Roman numerals without thinking hard. Like 73, what is that?
I have no idea. What would it be? X.
DXX? I think it's D is 50 or is that 500? I don't know. Or L. What's L? I don't know. L something.
I don't know. I have no idea.
How did we get? Where were we?
I think we're about to go into the random question round.
That was pretty random. Yeah, there's some priming the randomness pump.
All right, Doug, it's time for the random question round. This is the part of the show that has nothing to do with ADHD, which then, paradoxically, has everything to do with ADHD. Ready?
I'm ready.
Give me your $1 million invention.
I would love it if there was something that a gizmo, it'd have to be a gizmo, I think, that you put on someone's head who doesn't have ADHD so they could experience it and see that it's real.
So kind of like Jenny Freeman's C in ADHD. I think that's her whole concept of being able to see what it's like to actually live with ADHD from the non-ADHD perspective.
Because it's just amazing. It's unbelievable. ADHD is unbelievable. So I don't fault people for not believing it. I forget sometimes. Why did I do that? And they, that's right. I remember now. Yeah. So something that would break through so many barriers, like, why are you willfully bad? Why are you lazy? Why, all those things. And say, I get it.
What is the most unbelievable thing that you have ever done?
Well, nude modeling was up there. I have
a feeling there's some more, though.
There probably are some more. To me, they're just ordinary things. I once rode a unicycle 2 miles without falling off it.
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool. And I had the unicycle. My son one time said he didn't want me to ride it anymore because he said, I want to keep having a dad. So.
Aww.
See,
I thought you were going to say because you were embarrassing the hell out of me in front of my friends.
No, I didn't get a chance to do that. But no, he was just. But it was an endorsement of my fathering skills, maybe not of my unicycle skills.
Doug, let me ask you this. My son's going to be 4 in August, and I have to admit that I'm kind of looking forward to embarrassing him. It seems pleasurable. I don't. Maybe I'll change my mind like when I'm older. But is there some pleasure in that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be the nice. Some things are just embarrassing that aren't bad. That the kids, but something you don't want to do. Some things are bad. There's bad embarrassing and good embarrassing.
Right. I mean, I'm not going to do it where it's like I'm going to do something that's going to right. I don't want him to be taunted, for the rest of his life, because of something that his dad did.
Especially you're 4. That's a long time. That's a lot of taunting.
So you did a unicycle. You've posed nude for a drawing class. Have you ever posed nude on a unicycle?
That I've not done yet. That I'm not going to do. That my son would definitely be against that.
You should write that down. Do not ride a unicycle nude.
Do not need to write that down.
I used to do this in Chicago every year. They have the late ride. It's a bike ride in Chicago. It's like a 25-mile ride that starts at like midnight. And it goes like all through the city. And I did it for like 6 or 7 years in a row. I'm like way too old to do that. That would just like screw my ADHD up so much. But I did it 1 year, and there was a guy that did the whole thing on a unicycle. It's like a 25-mile ride.
Wow.
And you have to, the pedaling on that thing is like...
There's no coasting.
Oh my gosh. All right, next random question. Can you give us a recipe that we can make for, I don't know, just give us a recipe. Something you like to make.
Do you want the Mexican macaroni salad recipe? I've never made it.
You can do that, or something else. All right, what's your favorite thing to make?
Well, it was guacamole until I got some bad avocados, and then now I'm off on that.
Oh, that's disappointing.
It is, because it was like, wow, I can't believe this is so good. It's so easy. And then like, this isn't so good. I
used to make this butternut squash soup that I loved, and I got really sick one time, and that's what came up, and now I can't eat it. And it's like, I still like it, but I can't. Like, it's just like, even thinking about it makes me kind of queasy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I get that. You should be eating like liver and onions when you're sick. Then if you don't want to eat it anymore, maybe you like that. I don't know.
I actually love chopped liver.
Okay. Oh, chopped livers.
Maybe it's like a Jewish thing. I don't know.
It's mandatory.
It's delicious. When I think about it, how gross it actually is, but it's like, I've always just thought of it, it's like a dip. It's a spread. It's like chopped liver.
Well, you're not supposed to think about food. You're supposed to eat it. Well, there's half the food you eat if you think about it.
It's
nasty.
Not. It's not the bone that you're eating around. It's the stick that holds the meat together.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, so give us something you like to make.
Food? Are we talking about food still?
Yeah.
What do I like to make? Well, now what do I like to make? I have to have my new go-to thing. Marinated flank steak. I like doing that. Because that's something that seems to, and salmon, because they're fairly foolproof. Because I've gotten to the point where with cooking, I have to do one thing at a time. Right now, we have a warming. Our new stove, relatively new stove, has a warming oven, so I can keep things warm. So now I just make one thing at a time because it just does not work. And the meals end up taking like 2 hours to cook. That's the downside.
Whenever I'm making a new recipe and I see, it gives the estimated time, like 30 minutes, hour and a half.
That's a joke.
Like, who does those things in 30 minutes?
No one can do that.
Like, or the worst is the IKEA furniture. It says estimated time, 90 minutes, 3 weekends minimum.
Let's see, 90 minutes in dog years or dog hours.
Like, does anyone really, like, I really wonder how do they come up with that time?
Just 10-sided dice.
You think that's how they do it? They just roll a dice and see?
Yeah. It seems about as good as anything. So, although then it would be right once in a while, I would think. It doesn't seem to be true.
At least give like a range with kind of like a bell curve. You know what I mean? So it's like we at least have this realistic expectation that it's going to take some people 3 hours to do the 30-minute thing.
If you're way out in the tail, that's what's going to happen. The wrong end of the tail.
If you could coach a celebrity or movie star or someone that is sort of known by someone else, it's a great setup. Who would it be?
Who'd it be? Wow. What's her name? Darn it. Yeah, we're good old working memory here. Help me recall.
Brene Brown?
Well, no, she'd see right through me. That'd be... she played the president on a TV show a couple years ago. She's really smart. And she was in League of Their Own. She had red hair. What's her name?
I'm drawing blanks.
Oh, well, her, though.
Okay.
What's the name? I'm talking about her.
Okay. Why?
Well, she's smart, funny, pretty.
Okay. All right. You like redheads then, huh?
What's one category of people of hair colors I like.
Okay. Is your wife a redhead?
Auburn. It's a little bit in there.
Okay. But you like hers the best, though, of course.
Absolutely, yeah, whatever that color is, yes.
Yeah. I wonder how many people listening to this right now have no idea what color their wife's hair is, or husbands, or partners, or kid.
Eye color. Yeah.
It's things like that, or it's like it's not that we don't care. It's just that we don't know. I don't know.
I think we probably notice things that other people that they don't expect us to notice, but then get credit for it because it's not on the menu things you're supposed to get credit for.
Right. Exactly. Man, I just had another question and I forgot what it was. Oh, since you've been in some movies, if there was a remake of like your favorite movie and you could play like the one of the starring roles, who would you want to kind of tap and say, no, I'm going to play your role?
Well, I'd probably want some John C. Reilly role. I like him.
Who is that? I'm so bad with actors' names.
Okay, he was in Chicago. He sings Mr. Cellophane.
Okay, can you give us can you give us a little taste of that?
No, I can't.
Oh,
no,
please.
I can't.
Come on. Please,
I don't have my pitch pipe or anything.
Please.
I mentioned him because he was actually in a movie, one of my favorite movies I was in called Cedar Rapids. And that was fun because I was a conventioneer. There's a core of us, and we were like 15 days of filming. And he was around there, and he seemed like a cool guy. He's a very, very funny guy. Deadpan.
All right. My last question.
Okay.
I've been thinking for the last 40 episodes of rewriting my intro. Will you give me a new intro? Go.
What's the current intro? I was zoned out when you did it. Which intro?
You kind of looked zoned out. What's my intro? The ADHD Rewired.
Why do you want to change that? That's beautiful.
Well, that part's fine. It's the part after that.
What's the part after that?
This is the show for those of us who have really good intentions and a slightly wandering attention.
My brain is not activated. I'm going to play the deactivation card.
Was that a yellow card or a red card?
It's a red card. I'm going right to the red. It's just one of those things. Yeah, sometimes my brain, I can't turn it on. I'd like to. I wish I could, but right now it's just not happening.
And the reason I've been thinking about wanting to rewrite the copy for the intro, because I feel it doesn't fully capture what the show is. So if anyone is still listening, because we are like way past the hour mark, if you are listening to this, like I know the perfect way to intro it, shoot me an email, because I would definitely consider that.
I might probably email you at 4 a.m. When I stop trying. Because, trying, I think that's an executive function thing. The working memory, just trying to remember things. Mm-hmm. It flows fine. I can't reach in there and retrieve it easily.
Speaking of reaching in and retrieving, I don't even know how I'm going to bridge that thought. I think I forgot who this. I think it's my wife's grandmother. So I guess that's technically my grandmother too. She will occasionally set up a random transition by saying, "Speaking of dead people," which I just think is awesome.
That's style.
Oh, yeah, it's she has a great sense of humor. I'm rambling, so this is the best time to say, Doug, thank you for coming on. Let people know one more time where they can reach you.
Doug at ADHDsynergycoaching.com.
And any final thoughts?
When we're rambling that's when it starts getting good. We're stopping at the good part. We're just start jamming and riffing here.
Do you think that I should create a premium part of the podcast where so it would end now for everyone, but then we just everything that we're going to say from this point on, you have to pay $1 or something to hear. And it's of no use or value. It's just, us BSing with each other.
It'd be like the Sleep With Me section.
I love that podcast.
The podcast Sleep With Me, I should just specify that.
Yes, please. Yeah. It's what are you guys talking about? No, if you guys have never heard of this podcast called Sleep With Me, this guy, I don't even remember his name, Scooter or something. He is if speaking in tangents is a talent, he's the most gifted person I've ever heard speak in tangents. And he kind of mumbles, but it's sort of a style. Just check it out. It's to actually help you fall asleep. I'm going to reach out to him actually to try to have him on because he's just an interesting guy. He's done some Periscope things. So anyways, we got to cut this off. One more time, the email so people are ending on you.
Doug at ADHDsynergycoaching.com.
Doug, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Eric.
Thank you for listening to another episode of ADHD Rewired. And if you're new to the show, welcome to ADHD Rewired. We are more than just a podcast. We are a community focused on learning, growing, and connection. You could see a full outline of this and all other episodes with all the links and other resources mentioned during this interview at ADHDrewired.com. Help support this podcast by checking out my sponsors. I use Zoom video conferencing nearly every day, and so can you. Go free or go pro. But please, go to erictivers.com/Zoom so they know that I sent you. And you can get a free audiobook from Audible at erictivers.com/Audible. And next time you shop Amazon, use the Amazon search portal at ADHDrewired.com. A small percentage of your purchase will go to support this show, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. You can also support this podcast by leaving an honest rating and review in iTunes or Stitcher. This really helps other people find this show. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Don't just be a passive listener, be an active member of the ADHD Rewired community. We are on Facebook. You can like our page, but please submit your request to join our free and growing community. And don't forget to check your other inbox because I screen everybody before they come into our community. Looking for a coach? If you're still listening at this point and you answered yes, come to my website at ADHDrewired.com and schedule your free 20-minute consultation, or call me at 224-993-9450. Is your school, business, or organization hiring speakers? I provide fun and engaging presentations full of practical solutions that both educate and entertain. Hire me for your next professional development day or corporate training event. Go to ADHDrewired.com/talks. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you next week.